States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thank you very much to everyone who's in attendance tonight. Is there anyone on Zoom, Becky? Okay, thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda as posted and sent to the news media at least 24 hours prior to the meeting.
So moved.
I'll
Okay,
second
Bill,
it.
and seconded by Jerry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the council workshop report from Monday, July 22nd, 2024. I will not be reading that. It is available on the city website, and I believe it's also published in the Hampton Chronicle. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on then, we have the public comment period. There was none registered in advance, but do we have anyone in the audience? Yes, Mayor Steve Bertzel.
Thank you. It's Stephen Bertzel, live in Hampton, currently the mayor. I just wanted to, I gave a report here a while back on progress of since my stroke. Things are still moving forward. A little slow sometimes when I talk, but I get my point across. So I think I've decided that beginning on the next meeting, I'll go ahead and step back into the mayor's seat. I also definitely appreciate Jim for stepping in there and taking care of things while I was incapacitated, and for the council to keep things moving and where we belong. So we'll give it a shot and make sure it works. If it don't work, we'll do something else. So, but we'll look forward to being in with you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you.
That's great news. That's great news. Thanks. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Next item would be public hearings, of which there are none, and old business. Again, there's no old business. First item under new business is consideration of professional services proposal with ISG for the 4 and 6 First Street Northwest. And I will turn over the meeting now to Ron Dunt for details.
Thank you. Derek, can you hear us okay? Here he comes.
Yep, I can hear you guys. Sorry, this is probably better. Can you hear me now?
Not very well. Hello?
Any better now?
Barely.
Barely. We barely hear you. Do you want to log off and log back on? I don't know if that will help, but
Yep, I'll rejoin you in just 1 second here.
okay. Thank you. So he's going to review the scope of services for the professional services as a project manager for the 4 and 6th Street, First Street Northwest project, the old pharmacy building. And there's a couple things in addition since the last time we talked about this that he's going to cover, so hopefully he'll be on shortly. Let me know, Derek, when you got audio. You know, Derek, when you got audio. Shut my mic off. I'm shutting mine off.
Yeah. Because you can't have the volume too loud or you'll have feedback.
Yeah. Derek, can you hear us? He's gone? Okay.
Oof.
Well, let's move on to the next item, and then we'll catch him when he gets
Okay.
back on. I think what I'll do is maybe have him call my cell phone, and we'll put him on speakerphone.
Okay. Well, we'll pause that new business item. We'll move on then to the consideration of the request of Pit Row for closure of a portion of Federal Street North for the benefit on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I think,
Well, I can just, in your peach pages there, activities for the day would be lunch, bag tournament, silent auction, DJ in the street from 7 to 11 p.m. They'll be cleaning up at night right after the benefit. They applied for outdoor license for the day with only plastic and cans allowed in the street. They will have a fence around, that go around the area, which they have included with a letter showing where they would have the street closed. And that is from Tom and Jennifer Rooney. The second page is the map showing the area of closure, and then the third page is who the benefit's for, this young man here, so.
and I believe that's Maria Seams's nephew.
Okay.
Who, Jim?
Maria Seams, who works at First Bank. I believe that's her nephew.
And Tom's
Sir.
here in case anybody has
Yeah,
any questions.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Tom? I think you've done a number of different benefits in the past, and you've done an excellent job with them. So, I mean, for me, I don't see any problem whatsoever with that, so. So if there's no questions,
I have a question.
oh, sure, go ahead.
So what if we pass the noise ordinance before September 14th, and this goes on till 11 p.m. with the DJ? Will that affect that?
I don't have our draft noise ordinance in front of me.
Well, If no one takes a
10
sound level, I guess not.
PM is the cutoff in the noise ordinance.
Okay. Yeah, it's something we'll have to look into when we, so we're gonna bring the noise ordinance is currently in the hands of the city attorney. It's gonna come back
Right.
for more discussion, so that's something we can bring up.
Okay, well, I was just concerned how that would affect
Yeah.
this if we,
My 2 cents is if we approve this first, then this stands, and this was
Okay.
approved before the noise ordinance took effect.
Yep. I agree.
okay.
I do too, yeah, I agree. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Otherwise, I would look for a motion and a second to approve the request from Pit Row Pub for closure of the portion of Federal Street North for the benefit on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Is there a
So
mo-
moved.
Okay. Kevin, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Barry. If there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and put her to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Should we just keep going on?
We can check, well,
I believe I have sound now.
yeah. Yeah, Derek, are you there?
Yes, can you
Unless
guys
you
hear
wanna-
me?
Yes.
Perfect, apologies for that.
Okay, so, is it all right with you, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, sure,
Luis?
go
Okay.
ahead. We'll go back to the professional services proposal.
Okay, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, so thank you guys for the time at the workshop, and apologies for the sound here. We did make a couple of changes to the proposal that you saw at the workshop. And so those changes are.
Hey, Derek.
the-
Derek, the sound is not quite good enough. So can I have you call my cell and I'll put you on speakerphone near a microphone?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, until we can make the phone connection, we'll move on to consider the request from Tom and Jennifer Rooney and Alex and Courtney Haas for closure of a portion of 6th Avenue Southeast on September 21st from 11 to a.m. to 11 p.m. So,
Okay, can you just hold for a second? Thank you. Okay,
okay, do you have any?
keep going. Let's
Okay.
finish the Rooney deal.
Okay, so I think, again, this has been a request that's been made past years. So is there any questions? Tom's here about that.
I have a question. I want to know if I can abstain from this vote.
You certainly can. That's an option. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'd look for a motion and a second to approve the request from Tom and Jennifer Rooney and Alex and Courtney Haas for the closure of a portion of 6th Avenue Southeast on September 21st from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
So
Is there a
moved.
motion? Pat? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Kevin. If there's no further discussion, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Those abstaining?
Yes, I abstain.
Okay, it does pass. Thank you. Okay, we'll then move back to the professional services proposal if you're ready to go, Ron.
Okay. Okay, Derek, let's try this now.
Sounds good. How's the sound?
Better,
Good.
thank you.
Well, thank you for your patience and apologies for the technical challenges. So as Ron mentioned, we presented the proposal at the workshop on Monday and have since made a couple of revisions. During that time, we've also gathered some more information through Ron's work with the DNR and have a little bit more information to share. So the phase 1 ESA, the environmental site assessment, we believe that is not necessary at this stage. However, it's still in the proposal. And that cost has been revised from the $4,500 that you saw on Monday to $3,500 today. And we've added the third-party environmental testing. And so that third-party environmental testing, that was a miscommunication on our part internally. We had a different dollar amount for the phase 1, and in talking with our team, we had a gap there. We were planning to coordinate and obtain quotes and then have a third-party testing company come in. So we didn't have the cost to do the test included. So that $3,700, that does include the cost to do the test. And so we got quotes from 2 different companies, one from Mason City and the other quote was from a company out of Des Moines. The quote from Mason City was considerably lower, so that's the number you see reflected there on the page 3 of the proposal. Also, after the workshop, we were asked about radon and whether that testing would be necessary or could be included. So you'll see an optional to add a spot test for radon. However, we have confirmed that's not necessary at this point. And the structural assessment has also stayed the same as what you saw on Monday. So in terms of the phase 1 environmental site assessment, what we've learned is if this would move, depending on the council's decision after the structural assessment's complete and the environmental testing is complete, we develop that cost estimate to be able to outline what it would take to do the future steps. And if the council would choose, depending on what the council chooses, that phase 1 may not be necessary. So what we have talked about is being able to move forward with the proposal, and then the council, just like phase 2 could be a choice later on, that phase 1 environmental site assessment would be a cost that wouldn't be required up front. The other thing that we've learned through Ron's work with the DNR is that the third-party environmental testing for the asbestos and the lead-based paint, that can be reimbursed through the DNR's derelict building program, and $1,500 of the structural assessment could also be included in that DNR derelict building program. So there is some third-party grant money to cover some of these costs.
Fantastic.
Great, thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
They didn't have to do this. They could just pass the cost on to whatever they thought it should be, whatever, well, it was good enough for, Monday night, whatever we saw. They didn't have to go back and make these corrections, and I really, really value a company that would do something like that and be trustworthy enough to go back and revise this and point out discounts or rebates that we could get too. So I really appreciate their hard work, really appreciate Ron's hard work on this.
Other questions or comments?
Did you want, so on that last page of the agreement, on that acknowledge of acceptance, there's a box, optional service radar testing with a meter. I think he quoted as $100. If you approve that, just need to let us know if you want to check that box and have the radon done as well.
Yeah,
It's only $100 that Ron was doing it.
Why is the radon testing an issue?
Well, it wasn't brought up at the Monday meeting.
Right.
Radon wasn't.
Right.
But it's a test that can be done.
And why do we want to do that test?
Well, we're not required to, but so to know it early on in case someday somebody is living in the apartments above it. So it's not so much, I don't think, critical if there's no one living there, but if there's someone living in the apartment someday, it's good to know that there was a test for radon.
And if I could,
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
I think this test could be, so there's different measures for testing radon. The option shown that was suggested by the outfit out of Mason City, that's like a handheld meter, so that's a spot check. There is what they call a short-term canister test, which can be anywhere from 2 to 90 days, and that's a more thorough test, I would say. It's more of a, say, $500 test. But when it comes to the point that you have people living in the building, that would be the route that we would recommend, but that's farther down the road. So if I could, my recommendation would be to not do the radon testing now. If everything moves forward and this becomes a building that the city is able to return to a marketable condition and have ready for future residential use, that the test after that work be done. Radon depends on how well it's ventilated, what season of the year it is, so that can vary significantly. So my recommendation would be to wait until you're going to have that as a residential building, and then to do the more comprehensive test.
And I think it makes sense to clean out the building because it's so full of stuff. It's like, once it's all cleaned out too, you'd probably have maybe a more accurate test. I mean, I don't know, but it just makes sense to clean up the building first and then do a test later.
How does that
My
affect the
opinion.
employees that are gonna be working in there cleaning it up?
Well,
Are they
greatly.
using respirators
Yeah.
or some kind of protective covering? Do you know, Doug? Okay.
Yeah. Derek, did you hear the question?
Could you repeat it for me, Ron?
How will the air impact employees or contractors who are cleaning up the property in the meantime?
Both. We checked with a commercial real estate professional. They didn't have a concern with it. And when I talked to the environmental consultant out of Mason City and the consultant out of Des Moines, they said a radon test at this stage was more the exception than the rule, and that it wouldn't be required for demolition. Again, when you're cleaning the building up, you're going to have it open, you're going to have air moving. Radon is more of a long-term, when your building's closed up and tight, and can trap that. So I don't think it impacts anything for this first phase of work that needs to be done.
And I would also assume that any contractor that's hired to clean out the building, the debris, the old ceiling that's collapsed, will be wearing respirators or things like that, I'm assuming.
I think that would be up to their safety programs. So what we would recommend if we get to the point of proposing a demolition is, prior to setting up some documents to receive competitive quotes. We do an on-site walkthrough so they could all see the condition of the building. We'd have the asbestos and the lead to know if that needs to be abated. And then we would do a walkthrough so you could get good quotes and avoid surprises. They would have to determine their safety protocol at that point.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council?
Well, I
Pat?
will say on the flip side of that radon test, I bought radon tests online for $20. You put it in your basement for 3 days and you send it in, and it was $20. So, I mean, it wouldn't even hurt to do that, just as a preliminary thing. I really, I'd like to know one way or the other, kind of first of all, if that's what we're dealing with. But,
And I would be more concerned if we were dealing with putting people in the basement, where you're in the upper, especially if you're up on the second floor, that's not such a huge concern. So, I don't know, I agree with, I forget his name, what Eric said. I don't think it's necessary at this point, but.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion and a second to approve the professional services proposal from ISG for 4 and 6 First Street Northwest?
so moved.
With radon or no radon, spot check?
Oh, radon, or no radon. We can
Yeah,
do
and I
it.
think, I was just gonna mention with.
Again, I think we
with
can buy a
Will,
test for $20.
look for a motion with no radon at this time.
I second it.
Okay, so motion by Pat, second by Jerry. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll put her to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, thank you, Eric. Ron, do we need Eric then, any more today?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you guys for the opportunity, and again, appreciate you working through the technical difficulties. We'll be in touch soon.
Great, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to next new business item is the consideration request from Jeff and Tracy Spear for the street closures for the August 25th, 2024 Hampton Car Show. Ron, do you have anything for
Yeah,
that?
that's on the map,
Yeah.
this map, and it's kind of, seems to be growing, and you see the barricades, I don't know if they were exactly the same as last year as what we're seeing now, but I don't really have any more information other than what you're seeing.
So I know they had a tremendous turnout, I think one of the most that they've ever had.
I think the senior center is going to be, people that want to get in there are going to be limited to access, especially that parking lot.
Yeah, they're gonna have alley access to that parking lot, and maybe we could ask them to put that barricade there a little bit further to the east instead of, yeah,
And the post office also. You know,
make sure they at
it's
least
going to
have
be a
the,
Sunday, but,
to not block the alley,
right.
yeah. We can relay that.
Anything else? Okay, I would look for a motion and a second to approve the request from Jeff and Tracy Spear for street closures for the August 25th, 2024 Hampton Car Show. Is there a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. I'll second it.
Okay. Kevin, was that you that?
Yep.
Okay. Kevin and Jerry. If there's no further discussion, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item under new business is consideration of engineering service agreement with Crawford Engineering for 4th Street Northeast Sidewalk Extension. And I think Mark Crawford is here, and would you approach the podium, sir?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, council members. This is an engineering contract for the development, design, and permitting coordination for a trail along Highway 65 from the Casey's North driveway, extending north just over 300 feet to make a connection to the existing sidewalk a little farther north. So this is very similar to what we did last summer, 2 summers ago, on Highway 65 South to get a pedestrian access to Dollar Fresh. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I think you all have an exhibit as part of the council packet, so.
You know, this was an example of, we told you so. Years ago, when we did that Highway 65 project, part of it was bid, was from Casey's north to connect to the sidewalk you're talking about. All the residents got all up in arms, oh, we don't want that, we don't want that. So we didn't put it in, which could have been part of the bid, could have been cheaper a lot of years ago. And then now we're strapped with, gonna put this in now. I mean, it's just too bad that we're spending more money on this than it would have cost us when we did the original Highway 65 and the sidewalks along the way. I'm just so disappointed in this. Because we knew years ago, sooner or later, those people are gonna move out of those houses. Maybe new residents will be there that want sidewalks, and they're not gonna put them in, so we get stuck with it. So I'm disappointed that it's come to this.
I don't know if we're stuck with it. We're just gonna end up paying more.
Right.
But it connects to the trail. The middle school's on that side of the highway.
Right.
It doesn't make sense not to have a sidewalk there.
Right. It didn't make sense not to have one back when we approved the 65 project years ago.
Your services are for finding the hubs and staking it.
Correct, so we'll be doing the topographic survey for it, coordinating, the first thing will be to coordinate with the work and right-of-way permit with the DOT, which is similar to what we did on the 65 South Trail, and then the design and construction staking.
Is this for bid or staff gonna do this?
It's my understanding staff is gonna do this,
Staff.
just like the last one.
Well, that's good.
Do you see any issues? You know, the bike trails seems to be a little bit higher than what Casey's is in a sort of a short space.
Yeah,
I
we'll,
mean,
we'll look at that as we get into the design, but
Yeah.
there shouldn't be any problem. I was out there again tonight looking at it, coming up to match that trail elevation, and we'll make sure that the sidewalk flares into the trail nicely so that it's a smooth transition to go either north or south off of the trail.
I do have a
Go
question.
ahead, Jerry.
I'm sorry. Down here by Sandy's Flower House and going to the Casey's parking lot, you've got the sidewalk and then there's this grass spot. So a handicapped person would have to actually leave the sidewalk, go in the street to come back up to Casey's and catch that sidewalk there. The sidewalk that we're proposing putting in. There's just that little spot there, and I'm very aware of this because I have a granddaughter that's wheelchair bound. So is there anything we can do about that, or
The,
that would be your only choice to go into the street?
sure.
Do you see what I'm talking
Yeah,
about,
yep.
that little area?
Yep, I know exactly where you're talking about. The scope we discussed so far is what's shown there, but if there's an overriding desire to add additional sidewalk farther to the south, that's something that we can look at.
I think that should be completed like Jerry says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our initial discussions about the scope so far have
Right.
just been about this
Right.
piece, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why you see it as presented.
We can maybe talk about more details on that at a workshop too.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because originally, when we set this thing out years ago, it was gonna be from the First Christian Church all the way north. Well, then the church raised all kinds of hell because they didn't wanna have to scoop that, nobody used it anyway, so I said, okay. And the next thing you know, it was, well, we don't want this sidewalk, well, they don't want the sidewalk, and then it went all the way up to where it's at, so I certainly don't wanna put one in at the church, because they didn't want it anyway.
Other questions or comments? Otherwise, I would look for a motion and a second to approve the engineering service agreement with Crawford Engineering for 4th Street Northeast Sidewalk Extension. Is there a motion in favor?
I make a motion to approve this,
Barry, is there a second?
the agreement.
No second.
Okay, seconded by Kevin. Any further discussion? If not, we'll put her to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next item on the agenda is consideration of ESA with V&K Engineering for construction phase of the ARPA water main project. Now,
Jason.
Jason, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Council. I'm going to talk a little more about the project under a future item, item number 9 in your packets. This item is the amendment to our engineering agreement that was dated August 10th, 2023 for your 2024 water main improvements. When that original agreement was prepared, the entire project scope wasn't quite known as far as how much of the work was going to be done. So at that time, there was no fee established for the construction administration or observation services to be provided. So this amendment clarifies the scope of the project. We added the additional block of water main that got added by the law enforcement center. And then the construction services, we modified the construction services, the scope of services to be provided, specifically that what V&K will do versus what the city staff will do themselves. After we opened bids, we did have a discussion, Ron, Doug, and myself, and Doug has indicated he'll do the daily observation, verify quantities submitted by the contractor, so we won't have to assign a representative to be here on a daily basis. You'll take care of that with your own staff. So this agreement is for the general administrative services, and it'll, for making routine special trips to the project site, pre-construction conference, review shop drawings, material certifications. We will still prepare the pay estimates. Quantities will be submitted by the contractor. City staff will verify them. It'll include the construction staking, any necessary change orders, project management and administration. Like I noted, resident review is not included for this. For completion, we noted that the construction itself, we're anticipating about 6 weeks of construction based on conversations I have had with the contractors. And this contract is an hourly rate contract with not to exceed $18,900. So that's the agreement. If there's any questions on that.
Any questions, comments from council? I don't know if Barry had any, but.
Too late.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I'll look for a motion and a second to approve. Okay, Bill
I'll second it.
and Jerry, yeah. So motion by Bill, second by Jerry to approve the ESA amendment to the V&K Engineering for construction phase of the ARPA water main project. Guess we could go ahead and put it to a vote, or should we wait for,
You wait.
I think we can wait a second. Barry, there's been a motion by Bill and a second by Jerry to approve the engineering service agreement amendment with V&K Engineering for construction phase of the ARPA water main project. So I don't know if you had any further questions or discussion before we put it to a vote. Okay, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote at this time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, thank you, Jason, again, for being here.
I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. Okay, last item under new business is a vicious animal appeal hearing involving an 8-year-old black and white female husky named Hachi, owned by Susanna Martinez. Evidently, the Martinez aren't here. Mark, do you have anything that you would like to state?
Sure, it was the owner's intent the whole time to remove the dog from the city. They were just having troubles locating a place for him. Mason City shelter was full, and this was already printed. But I got a call yesterday that it had been removed from the city and taken to the Humane Society in Waterloo, and that was verified, so this isn't an issue today.
Okay. Good, thank you. So we won't be having a hearing, but we still would need a motion and a second to deny the appeal involving an 8-year-old black and white husky, a female husky named Hachi, owned by Susanna Martinez and declared vicious by Chief Morrison. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I move to deny the hearing.
Okay, Pat moved to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go second by Bill, then to deny the appeal. We'll just, if there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and put her to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, sorry. Yep, indeed, it is a roll call. Okay, Barry,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye?
Kevin?
Aye.
I vote yes. Jerry?
Aye.
And Bill?
Aye.
Yes. Okay, and the motion does pass. Okay, that's all we have on the agenda for new business. We'll move on then to the approval of the claims as recommended by staff for $514,262.49. Is there a motion to approve?
So, I'll second.
Was that you, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, motion by Kevin, second by Barry.
I would
To
just make a,
approve. Is there any discussion?
yeah, sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
I would just, for the public's note, they're fairly high this time because of the payment to Towing Incorporated for the new fire truck for $329,418.82. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or or comments at all? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and put her to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item is consideration of approval and adoption of resolution and ordinances. On the agenda is Resolution 24-23, a resolution approving construction contract and bond for the 2024 water main improvement project. And I will turn that over to Ron Dutt.
I'll just summarize and then Jason can add to this. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hampton, Iowa, that the construction contract and bond executed and insurance coverage for the construction of certain public improvements described in general as the 2024 water main improvement project and as described in detail in the plans and specs heretofore approved, which may have been signed by the mayor and clerk on behalf of the city, be and same are hereby approved as follows. The contractor, Brian Nettleton Excavating of Joyce, Iowa. The amount of bid, $502,049.50. Bond surety, $502,049.50. Date of bond, July 11th, 2024. Portion of the project, it is for the base bid plus alternate 6. Jason?
Jason?
Just a quick reminder of the project scope. As you recall, there's base bid plus several alternates. Contract was awarded with just the one alternate, so the project scope is 8-inch water main on 12th Avenue Northeast from Federal to Highway 65, 6-inch water main on 6th Street Northeast from 6th Avenue to 7th Avenue, and then the 6-inch water main on 5th Street Southwest from 1st Avenue South to 2nd Avenue South. All three segments of water main will be installed by directional drilling, which will reduce the amount of pavement surface restoration required. The valve replacements along Highway 3 were not included in the contract award. Likewise, upsizing the water main along 12th Avenue was not included in the contract award. Schedule-wise, bid documents say the contractor can start anytime here, but they must be complete by November 22nd. I did have a conversation with Brian Nettleton of Brian Nettleton Excavating. He's tentatively thinking right after Labor Day we can get started on this, and he's planning about 6 weeks to have all of the work wrapped up. So we'll be looking to schedule a pre-construction conference mid to late August once we get a little closer to make sure that schedule is still accurate. The resolution approving contract and bond, the contract is a unit price contract. So the contract price based on the estimated quantities is $502,049.50, and the unit price contract, just so everybody's aware, is they're paid per foot of water main, per pound of water main fittings, per square foot for surface, etc. So all the quantities are measured and authorized quantities are paid on this. The bond is a combination performance payment maintenance bond, and for the maintenance portion on this project, it'll be for 4 years following acceptance of the work by the city council. You did submit the certificate of insurance as well. We've reviewed all documents and everything appears to be in order. We do recommend approval of this resolution. Questions?
Any questions from council? Good, thank you. Okay, I would look for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2024-23. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Jerry, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Barry. Any further discussion before we put it to a roll call vote? Okay, seeing none. Pat?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
I vote yes. Barry?
Aye.
And Bill?
Aye.
Resolution 2024-23 does pass. Moving on to the consent agenda, which includes the following. Approve previous minutes as drafted from the Thursday, July 11th, 2024 regular session. To schedule the next regular session for Thursday, August 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. here at the Hampton City Council Chambers. Approval of the alcohol licensing and outdoor service on September 14th, 2024 for Pit Row, 19 Federal Street, Northampton, and approval of alcohol license for Fairway Store Incorporated, 309 Central Avenue West in Hampton. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, Bill, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, seconded by Barry. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, that leads us to staff reports. We'll start with Mark Morrison.
Just have a few updates for you. One is we did order a decibel meter, and it should be here on Monday, so we can start doing a little bit of testing for the noise ordinance. The city attorney is still working on the noise ordinance and some of the fine tuning it just a little bit. So we're just going to get a little bit of data, and then we'll bring it back to you at a future meeting. I also just wanted to mention that it was Officer Al Brand's 15-year work anniversary this week. We like to thank him for his service to the department and the community. Doug and I also reached out to the Hampton Newmont School, reference parking at Southside, and we also met with Oak Tree Apartment, the board president, and that information was sent to you in an update. And then we are also working with the city attorney on putting some final touches on a dog ordinance to help streamline the process. If there's any questions, I can answer them.
Any questions? Barry?
Yeah, I had a complaint about parking on First Street Northeast, the 700 block. And I don't know if it's a private home or a rental property. They complained, they said there was 7 cars in the street.
They were in, well, I haven't gone up there to look and see if they're in the street. They were in the front yard. So we went up there and we talked to them about not being able to park those vehicles in the yard. I drove by today. I didn't see vehicles in the street that I noted, but I did see they had them lined up in the driveway.
Okay.
So I don't know without looking at it again. I'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Other, Pat?
I just want to say that I really, really appreciate all the communication you've given us. You've emailed us on this Oak apartment thing, and I had a parking issue that somebody addressed me about, and I just really appreciate all the communication. That's just so great that you send that out to us, and I know that it really helps build the communication, and that's all we want.
Thank you.
Anything else from council for Mark? If not, thank you very much, sir. Doug, you're next.
Thank you. The court schedule continues to roll a little bit as we've had some of those previous violations and different things that are going before the court had been continued out a little bit. So next Thursday we'll be back in court, and then I think in the next coming weeks there's going to be a handful more cases that we have going on. Have a couple pre-construction meetings coming up here in the next few weeks for the very projects we discussed tonight. So looking forward to that. We're on the back end of the construction season here a little bit, so it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, the weather's more cooperative than it has been this year. Water mapping project is nearing completion, and then the sewer mapping is next up. 917 4th Street Northeast, or up on Highway 65 North. If you guys drive up that way, the demolition is underway and moving along quite nicely this week. 600 block of 1st Street Northeast, where the city has that empty lot, and then we're across the street from the Habitat for Humanity lot, if you guys are aware of that area. Our staff is up there working on sidewalk project, and then they had to do some tree removals with some of that. So things are looking a little messy up there right now, but I think once things are all said and done, that corner's really gonna be cleaned up. And let's hope to get 2 new houses in there at some point. That'd be great. Let's see, another concrete patch has also been completed by staff up on 4th Avenue Northwest by Memorial Park. So there was a big 10-yard pour up there here recently, so the guys have that completed. We do have some more to do up there, some more patching we'd like to get at, but you know, we're chipping away at it. Mosquito spray will be out tonight again. There's been a lot of communications and interest going out and around between communities about the mosquito spraying and how bad the mosquitoes are this year, and we're working those things out, and we're just gonna, I think our rule of thumb is to just keep doing it weekly and until we run out of budget or until the mosquitoes stop. I do anticipate the crop dusters are out now, so that's actually a good thing for this. I do believe their insecticide applications are gonna benefit us as well, and even some of their fungicide applications will probably help take care of some of that as well. So I'm looking for that to decrease and make things a little more manageable with those pesky things. And then, like the chief alluded to, we've been working on that, the parking communication, and then we've also drafted, I've been working with Kelsey. We have ordinance drafted already for those 2 parking scenarios that we've discussed at the workshop, and we'll be presenting that at the next workshop. In the meantime, there's been a few projects coming through, some building permits and some deck permits, so we just continue to roll. Any questions or concerns?
I thank you for the mosquito control.
Sure.
I think it's very pleasant to sit outside. I haven't been bothered too terribly. Do the seats, are those put back on the diggers out at Memorial Park?
No, not yet. Ron and I talked about that this week. We thought we had a fix for that, and it has not been completed yet. So I will get that moving along.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Barry?
Yeah, the valves that weren't included in that water main bid, are you able to get them shut?
If we work them, I guess my theory at this point would be to answer your question, to some extent, yes, and to some extent, no. It just depends on which one it is. It would be nice to eventually have those replaced, but I do foresee in the future that maybe we would like to, because of the expense of the way to do it, to start working from the outside in and maybe do 1 or 2 valves a year moving forward here a little bit so we can get to those.
So they're the bottom of the valve would be filled with sludge or rust or something to impede it from closing?
Sometimes that's the problem. Sometimes the valve stem's so old and rusted that it doesn't work. So there's a lot of different things. We do try to exercise valves when we can. We're probably not as religious at that as we'd like to be, but I don't think any community is. However, due to the age of these, we have had struggles getting some shutdowns in the past. But doing a cut-in valve, it costs a little bit more to do it that way, but I do believe that's going to benefit us to do a handful that way for a few years. And if we do it correctly, then we can replace the other valves with a better shutdown. But we're going to have to work, like I said, from the outside in a little bit on this thing and probably chip away at it. They're expensive, as you can tell.
Thank you.
Anything else for Doug?
Yeah.
Pat?
How are we doing with all the fire hydrant paintings?
I'd have to see what the list looks like, Pat. I know they did a bunch last year. But right now, we got staff working on that mapping end of things.
Sure.
So, you know, that would be something to check into, but I think they had a significant amount done last
They
year.
sure look nice.
They
And
do.
I saw one on Valcade Court that wasn't painted yet, and I thought, oh, man.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
The rest of them look so nice.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, great.
I've got one more question. Could you tell us the status of Diana's building?
Yes, I can. We have a court order to make the repairs, and I had a contractor hired that thought they would be here in the middle of July. That's not going to happen, as the weather has been hard on contractors this year so far with all the rain events. So now their tentative schedules to make those repairs in late August, early September. So I hope to hear back on their scheduling pretty soon, but I do believe that's about when it'll take place.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Ron Dunt.
Thank you. Jerry, I'll add to what Doug said about the digger seats at Memorial Park. I'd visited with Jeff Spear to see if he could fabricate some seats that may last longer. And so he was going to look into that, and haven't heard anything back from him yet. So hopefully he'll come up with something. As Derek mentioned, I've had communication with the Iowa DNR rep in charge of lead-based paint, asbestos inspections, and abatement with their grant program. He indicates we will be eligible for grants for the inspection and abatement, and we'll work closely with ISG to apply for these grants and other grants that we may be eligible for that property. I'm a board member of FCDA, Franklin County Development Association. I attended the July board meeting, which was held in Latimer this time. It was held there to do a site visit of the Latimer Industrial Park and options for future expansion over there. The board then conducted their business meeting at the Latimer Golf Course Country Club, or Clubhouse, where they selected fiscal year 25 officers. Phil Hauser will serve as the president for the next year, and Doug Peter will serve as the vice president, and Diane Prowley continues as treasurer. Outgoing president is Tyler Heron. Mary updated the board on her activities. She had attended a North Central Iowa Alliance intern event, North Iowa Corridor annual meeting, monthly REC meeting, housing conference planning meeting, economic summit planning meeting, and Empower Rural Iowa meeting, and is working on her annual report. Economic development in the county is a top priority for the FCDA board to retain industry and expand and grow for new tax base. The board also amended the bylaws to more accurately reflect the processes used by the board. And then the board considered the city's request to send Mary to the League of Cities Conference on Thursday, September 19th, but they did not approve the request due to the fact that they have an FCDA board meeting scheduled for that day. Mary also has a North Central Alliance meeting that day and a NIAC board meeting that evening. They also discussed that she attends many conferences throughout the year on economic development professional trainings with economic development colleagues across the state, where the entire conferences are focused on economic development topics. And finally, as part of their discussion, the total cost of sending her to the league conference for one day and one evening, they felt would limit her education budget line items for other economic development trainings. FCDA is currently conducting research of the property it obtained an option to purchase on for Hampton Industrial Park expansion, which is the land surrounding the Hanson Tire property. And FCDA is a busy organization and a vital component to our future growth and the growth of our tax base. Any questions?
I have a question on did we ever get the dog park money, their funds?
Yeah. From the foundation, yeah,
Foundation?
yeah,
We need to probably decide at some time what we're gonna do with that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And you can maybe let us know how much that was at some point, too.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Anything else for Ron? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to council reports. Kevin?
No, I don't have a report.
Okay, thank you. Barry?
I guess I'd like to say, if we're gonna start working on the old pharmacy, I'd like to see something put over the windows. It's such an eyesore the way it is.
You're right.
You know, paper or mannequin or something in the window.
We can do
That's
that.
all I have.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, anybody that has two telephone numbers listed for me, a cell phone and a landline both, the landline will be canceled August 15th. That money will allow me to go to the Iowa State game and watch Iowa State beat Iowa.
Well, thank you very much for that information. Appreciate that. Anything else, sir?
No.
Okay. Jerry?
I just want to report that for the chamber, I worked out at the chamber booth at the fair, attended a chamber meeting, watered flowers with Bev Monday night, and she was a great partner. Thank you so much. And I just have an issue that I would like to talk about. People posting signs in Van Shell Park for garage sales. It looks tacky, driving along Highway 3 and seeing these signs. And there's been one there, I don't, did we do anything with that? There's been one there for over a week. They're having an ongoing moving sale, and I did remove it once and took it to their address, and it was back the next day.
Yeah, it is gone. We actually removed 2 signs out of Banshell Park today. I had to consult with Doug on that one, so it has been removed and taken care of.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It just, see, so it started with one, and now somebody else thinks, well, now they did it, we can do it, and pretty soon we're gonna have signs all along the highway for garage sales. Thank you. That's my report. Thanks, Mark. And Doug.
Okay, Pat?
All right. Well, for better or worse, I looked at some things that popped up on Facebook 5 years ago today, and 5 years ago today, they put me back on the city council for better or worse. Anyway, probably for worse after I talk about this. I got a letter from, or email from Mary Amsbaugh about the conference. And she said there was some good conversation about the conference. Ron made a motion. It was seconded that I should attend. Motion didn't pass. General discussion included the budget. She didn't talk about any other conferences she had to go to, any other meetings she had to attend, anything like that. But again, I estimated the cost at $500. They pay her $250 to drive back and forth with reimbursement. If she stays overnight, that's $150, and some conference fee is probably about $100. So $500. And every meeting I went to that had anything to do with economic development, town expansion, anything, the first line out of their mouths were, we worked with our economic development director. Every time we went to a meeting that had something to do financially or with expanding a business or expanding the town or housing, this was the first thing that was said. And to me, it just seems logical that you would send a person that could discuss not only with if other economic development directors were there, or with other community leaders, hey, how did this work out? Give me your name and number of your economic development director. Let's work this out. I know Ron's on the board, but he also goes to other things as well. And so it just seems pretty short-sighted. So then what I did was I thought, well, why don't I go to their website and find out who these directors are, then I can maybe contact one or two of them and say, hey, what were you thinking? Well, maybe they ought to take that $500 they're going to save and update their website from the 2021 to 2022 directors they have listed and update it to the current list. And remember, we give them $45,000 a year, and I'm pretty disappointed in that. So that's my report. Happy 5th anniversary.
Okay. And finally, my report, I have 3 items. The first is the Hampton Historic Preservation Commission met last week and will be requesting a time at a future workshop or a council agenda just to give an update to the council what we've been doing. The second is I was stopped at First Bank Hampton for my daily cup of coffee, or half a cup of coffee over there, and I noticed they have a public sidewalk beautification program. I thought that was pretty neat, for individuals if they would want, or homeowners, businesses, if they want to replace their public sidewalk. And evidently, they say incredibly low rates of interest. So I think that's also awful great that they're doing something like that. And the third thing is, just want to read this very short prepared statement. It has been an honor and a privilege to step up as Mayor Pro Tem to serve the community while Mayor Steve needed to take some time away. And I want to thank the other council members, City Manager Ron Dunn, Public Works Director Doug Tarr, Becky and Kelsey in the office, and the other city employees for their efforts and patience working with me during this time. And I'm glad to hear from Steve that you're going to be coming back to take over the helm. So with that, I'll take a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Bill?
Second.
And second by Pat, to adjourn the regular session of the Hampton City Council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Ron.
Yep.